points I want to make here. I think the first point is that the debt-bearing capacity of countries vary. So if for a debt-to-GDP ratio of 50% is more affordable for a country which has, I don't know, mobilizes revenues of 25% per year of GDP versus one that's only collecting 15%. So in and of itself, the increase has to be seen in correspondence with the capacity to service the debt. That's the first point. The second point is like, what should countries do about this increase? And what we see in many cases is that over the medium term, most countries have plans of that fiscal consolidation plans, which should help stabilize the debt. The problem a little bit has been that in the past, we've seen adjustment being delayed to the next year, to the year after, and we're saying that should not be, happen this time, and the consolidation plans that countries have should be implemented without delay. And then the third and final point is, we think that there is a lot of scope in many countries in the region to mobilize more revenues, to raise more revenues, more tax revenues. And a focus there also would help attenuate the adverse impact that fiscal consolidation can at times have on growth. So that's our policy prescription.
How do countries practically generate increased revenues?
What you want to do, of course, is find ways to broaden the basis for the existing taxes. That's very important. In a number of our countries, we have too many exemptions that are a source of leakage of revenues. In other cases, it may be exploring new taxes. For example, a tax which hasn't been utilized quite effectively in the region is property tax. We do a lot of technical assistance or capacity development working with tax revenue authorities. So in some cases, it's issues with the administration of tax administration. In other countries, it's a policy framework that needs to be revisited. Mm-hmm. But in general, we find countries should be able to collect between 0.5 and 1 percentage points of GDP in taxes per year. Mm-hmm. And that's a target that I think increasingly our countries have to work towards.
One of the key things that's always talked about is diversification mm-hmm. of economies, away from these volatile commodities. How can countries practically do that? And are you happy with the progress in that respect?
What we found works is focusing on areas of country strengths. So in a place like Botswana, for example, you wouldn't want to be looking for a very labor-intensive development strategy or diversification strategy, because population is small. They already have a mining sector, diamond. So I think they've gone about it in a fairly clever way to foster diversification. Absolutely, there's more that can be done, but they've gone, towards value adding around the mining industry, and I think that's a strategy that has made sense and needs to develop. In another country like Uganda, where we've seen diversification take hold is in the agro-processing sector. So again, this is something that makes sense because they have a lot of agricultural exports. So beyond making sure that you have a business environment that's effective, you're providing the infrastructure services that would help reduce the indirect costs companies face. I think the positive interventions you have to do have to be smart and focused and playing to your strengths.